Hey, Michael, so talk to us. What's one piece of advice you can give us this Monday morning?
I'd say you got to have a philosophy of what you're trying to do and stick with it. So it's kind of a vision of what you're trying to create, what you see that being, and then just work really hard towards that. I wouldn't look at it as a number. Don't say,
Hmm.
oh, I got to have $10 million, because I don't think that will get you the happiness at that point. But I think having an idea of what you wanted to create, if that's the outcome, perfect.
So have the idea first instead of the logistics or the money behind it.
Have the vision of what you want it to be, what you're trying to create, what you want it to be. I think you got to have a vision. And I don't think visions of money is necessarily going to get you there or be fulfilled when you get there.
Is that something you feel like happened when you created Tefball?
Kind of. I would say that it came out of like a problem because when you're restoring an implant, you have that cover screw in the abutment there. You got to cover it up before you restore with the crown. And whether it was like cotton or Teflon tape or something of that nature is always, I found it really cumbersome to get in, tricky to get in, wasting your time. And then that was one problem. But the biggest thing was like the issue of it being like stinky, full of bacteria, retain moisture. It just didn't make any sense that that was like a standard of care. And there was no reason for it. It's just the way it is. No one ever gave me a good reason why we did that, because there's like the weakest link, the whole process of restoring and implant dentistry, because it's so sterile coming with the packages for the implant. And then when you're placing it, you got to make sure everything's clean and all the way down the line. And then this is it at the end. And then you have this piece of garbage you're putting inside that you took off the shelf for the hardware stores. Like, it didn't make any sense. Maybe the first time I saw it in school, was like, this is like allowed. Everything else was so controlled. I couldn't just go grab anything I wanted and use it from a store. But this was the one thing that came out of the idea based off of just wanting to do something better for my patients. So I guess it took me a while to come up with the idea, but I had something in my head that I got to do better. So the vision process just took a long time to formulate, years after I graduated, but same idea.
Yeah, man, it must have really, really bothered you. So, given your background in like dental implants, have you noticed any changes in post-procedural healing or patient satisfaction related to its use of Tefball?
They don't know beyond just, does it feel good kind of scenario, right? Well, what they always do know is if you ever have to tighten a screw or replace it or any reason need to get in there later, they will always make comments like, oh, that smelled bad. That is a very common thing I've heard through the years. So I would say that would be the one thing I've noticed is now I don't get that comment because this, it's antimicrobial. It doesn't absorb moisture. So you don't have that same problem. If you took out any of those other materials before, it's like a nice black thing, but now it retains its original color because it doesn't absorb all that bacteria. This is the only thing in the world right now I know of that you can place in there that's antimicrobial, resistant to bacteria.
Yeah. So this is an interesting vision that you had, man, because like you felt like from the beginning, it was like, this is the only thing we can go out and buy. When was the turning point in your mind where you decided I need to start making this happen because I don't see it anywhere else?
I graduated, and this is my 15th year now. 5 years after I graduated, I think was when I came up with the first need to do this. I have an idea about it. Then I came up with like a very basic idea of the shape and everything. But it wasn't until another, I would say, 2 years later, I had the finalized shape to go in there because it needed to be something that would be able to put in really quick and easy, and then also be snug, and so you don't get composite or filling material flowing around it, contaminating that screw. And then also, fast forward years after that, you have to go through prototypes and get models made. Like, okay, does it work? Does it work? Okay, like this. Even simple things along the way, like the color. I used to have it clear because I'm thinking everybody wants this clear in my head. But then after I tested a few times, the remark was, it needs to be like white, a solid white color. I'm like, okay. So that would be a change.
Why white?
I think because from an aesthetic, people like that color. So say if you use a zirconia, it would help with that color. I think I made it black at one point too before I did that. So I think white because it's clean and because of the aesthetic.
Okay. That's interesting. So then, were there any other materials considered? And how does this particular plastic enhance the durability and biocompatibility of the product?
Initially, I thought I was going to make it like a silicone Teflon kind of material because I didn't know. I thought that's just what it is. So when I initially had the prototypes done, that's what it was made out of. And as time moved on and I tried to do like, say, make more than one every day, because if it's ever getting to the point where I wanted people to use this, you can't make something that slow because it costs too much money. So I had to think of a way that I could, first of all, make it in a larger volume. So you need like a micro molding center, which I discovered. So that took me 2 odd years to find someone who could make it because it's so tiny. It's very small. Because the diameter of that implant is roughly around 1.5 millimeters, right? So it was through the manufacturing processes where I changed the material. And it was a good thing because I ended up with a better material because I ended up with this company that produces medical devices. And they're like, this is what we use. It's called VersaFlex. So it's like a elastomer. I shouldn't be using the word plastic because it implies, oh, yeah, like a bottle, plastic bottles or something. Plastic's a general term, but it's like the elastomer, I think is a better way to say it because it's biocompatible and it's something they would use in devices they would either be embedding or just in a hospital setting. So that's where this VersaFlex material came in because you also need it to be produced at a volume that could try to get the cost down, which is what I'm trying to do. That's the hardest part, trying to get the cost down now. Like you can make things. If you went out there tomorrow and tried to make a new widget, you'll find like, I can do this. But if everything else people have been using is a fraction of the cost, it's really hard to get anybody to adopt to it, even though we know it's better. It'll probably pay for itself because how quick it is to put in and take out. Your chair time savings will pay for itself over the course of a year and all those minutes that build up. So the whole idea is about just doing like better service for patients. But someone told me along the way, like, well, people aren't really going to care enough about that when it costs more. So you got to figure another why would people do this. But I was just concerned with being better for the patients and glad it is. Because of that, we can manufacture it, and that's where I tried to get the cost down. So it's $4 a unit.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So then that's how it improves the efficiency in a practice, right? It's quicker, better for the patient too. Patient doesn't see it that much, but would somebody else who's doing this be like, oh yeah, this is way better?
I would think so. I've said it to enough people now along the way that general consensus is better. And I have had some testers like blind and their name's not fixed, so I'll never know who it was and give me a feedback. So like consensus is they like it. My only competitor is price, but it is better. It's not more money at the end of the day if you factor in everything I just talked about.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any misconceptions or resistance when introducing Tefball to other practice owners?
One is the cost thing, because that's a comment. Why would I do that? I can't argue that point because you're right. It's not the same price as a piece of plumber's tape. You can't solve modern problems with old pricing. But like I said, you can offset it with time savings. Ultimately, I think your end goal is going to be better anyways, because if it's a better material selected in there, you're better long-term success. First of all, there's going to be less microleakage on the implants. It's not going to absorb that moisture. So you're going to have less bone loss, healthier pockets associated with implants, which will increase the long-term success of them. And also, I think dentists understand the relationship between oral health and systemic health. So if you're introducing something into that environment that could potentially contribute, $2 wouldn't matter. Ask any patient, hey, listen here. If you pay more, I can give you a better outcome long-term and less potential systemic health issues.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. So then any final words or pieces of advice that you'd like to give to our listeners?
I tie it all back to the same thing. So it's your philosophy. So whether it's your practice, development, growth of that aspect, or a continuation of this, kind of like, what do you want to do? What's your vision? So if you feel like you're doing the right thing, the right vision for you, it'll turn out. And I just hope in regards to Tefball, I hope people in time give it a shot, try it out.
Awesome, Michael. I appreciate your time. And if anyone has further questions, you can find them on the Dental Marketer Society Facebook group. Or where can they reach out to directly? Where can they get more information on Tefball? Or are you also giving out, like, if people are like, hey, can I try it out first?
Best way to do that would be if you go to tefball.com, there's a contact page there. So you can send any inquiries there. Also, social medias, Instagram and that. And then to try it out. So right now it's $99. If I give you a discount code, say 15%, that would be the best way to try it out.
Nice. So that's going to be tefball.com. And then when you're ready for checkout, use the code TDM15. Or if you want, it's also going to be in the show notes below as well, right? All righty, Mike, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with me on this Monday morning episode.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.